If you take your baby by the hand and head for Rock City, she'll understand.
Tell Mama I'm spending the night with a friend. She won't be home until dawn. I'll meet you on the mountain up in Chattanooga. Everybody's doing the Rock City Boogie. So if you take your baby,
then she won't be maybe.
she'll keep on doing the Rock City Boogie with you.
I'm gonna take my baby by the hand and head for Rock City, she'll understand.
Heading down the highway, no way but highway. Rock City Boogie with me.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Good morning and welcome to Old Town Cleveland here on WOOP FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.woopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553, and if Morgan say if you're out of the area or out of your mind, call 423-614-5553. Good morning, Debbie Moore. Tell me what's going on in this big old world.
You didn't do that in your British accent.
I don't have a
British accent.
This is the accent I have, and it's bad enough, you know.
This is
it. This is all you get.
Good morning. Today is August the 12th, 2017 already. Our year is passing by quickly. We've had a strange weather week. It's been kind of cool and kind of rainy and kind of hot.
And kids are back in school.
Absolutely. This first,
That
as a
means
teacher.
Teachers are back in school too, Deb.
As I can tell you, this first week only seemed like it was about 30 days long. And
Deb has started her 39th year of teaching in the Bradley County school systems. And
I'm feeling every minute of it.
Last year she said she was retiring. She wasn't coming back this year. And then they handed her the paperwork to retire. She said, I don't want to fill out all that paperwork. So she came back to work because she didn't have to fill out the paperwork.
Well, I said, I don't want to fill out that paperwork, and I definitely don't want to clean out my desk, although there's probably some really antique toys in there from the first few years. I might get rich when I retire.
And to all you parents out there, if you have a child going to school for the very first time, you'll make it.
You'll make it.
You'll make it. You know,
you will get used to that line in the afternoon to pick them up.
That's the hard part of school. And then, of course,
our schools were built, a lot of them,
when people rode the buses.
When kids walked home or they rode the bus home, very few parents picked up kids in cars. Now, very few kids ride the bus, and all the parents come to pick up the children.
All at the same time, and almost every school, their cars out in the road. So if you got to pick up your kids, please learn from the school where you can turn and don't turn. And which exit to come in and out of. So please do that, and then learn when is a better time. You don't have to go an hour early and sit on the road for an hour, or you can't come 2 hours late either. So, but just please learn for that. Check with your school, the principal.
So what time would be the best time for me to come?
Which driveway do I come in, and which direction do I have to come?
It's so funny the first few days because you'll have parents looking at you going, I have no idea what's going on.
Avoid blocking both directions of the road. There's one side of the road that's going to have cars in it, and if you try to make a left turn into that, for example, and you block that side of the road, it becomes a worse mess than it already is. So please
And
learn.
be patient, because right now, this time of year, it's taking about 15 extra minutes than what it takes once we get everybody driving in the right direction, and the kids can buckle themselves up.
The kids can do it. It's teaching the parents, just like dog training. The dog can do anything you train it. It's the trainer, the master, is the one that has the problem.
I wanted to say congratulations to Red Clay State Park. They pulled off a terrific
What
event
a great event.
last weekend, and it was true Cherokee culture. It wasn't people pretending to be Cherokee's culture.
I
It was
like
true Cherokee culture.
It was the people who demonstrated how they made the, I don't know what you call little metal things they hung around that would be
Yeah.
copper or
Right.
brass or something.
Yeah.
And it was, watch the guy do that, and guys making flutes and making and
Baskets.
And then of course the Atua warrior dancers are always good. And of course, you know, they can't do all their dances here because some of them are ceremonial and they can't do them in public. I thought that was interesting.
Right.
And then they had
and they would never allow
visitors to join in.
participate.
Yeah, I didn't know.
But they wanted to be audience participation, so they did a lot of fun dances where they came
The
out to the
bear
audience,
dance, yes,
the
it-
friendship dance. They came out into the audience and recruited people to dance.
And then the stickball game.
Holy moly!
You know, Cherokee stickball used to be played, and sometimes to the death. I mean, it was hours. There was a bunch of young Cherokees there who played stickball, and it was a physical. One of them broke his arm, didn't he?
Broken elbow, I believe.
Yeah, I mean it.
And if
it
you
was
look
pretty
on
serious.
our Facebook page, you'll see one of the a photograph from the Chattanooga Times that one guy is horizontal, shoulder level, up in the air, that he's been slung, and he's still holding on to the guy.
What, take football, soccer, lacrosse, with no
And
pads,
make it more
and make it,
violent.
and, you know, you have sticks and
And you see these guys out here, and they're just fighting. I mean, you grab the ball and you hold it in your hand, and they're trying to pry it out of your
it's
hand.
a lot like lacrosse.
And it has sticks. Well, lacrosse is a lot like Cherokee stickball.
Well, that's what I'm
actually.
saying. Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I was just
anyway,
comparison.
when you see them walk off the field, they're all laughing and hugging each other and high-fiving and stuff because they know that they've had a good game, but they don't carry on any of that off the field. They're all still friends.
Good blood. Yeah.
And we saw them, and you'd see them with a fried bread in each hand. You know, they can eat all
I did that too.
Yeah, I saw you do that. Ron, the first day, the line was way too long for the Nikki's fried bread. It's like the best around.
Fry bread.
Fry bread.
Yeah. I want to say fried bread. Too.
It's
fry
fried bread.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. You're absolutely correct. And so the next morning, Ron went on Sunday morning, and he was in line at 10:45.
Yes,
Second
yeah.
person in line.
Yes. And I finally got a couple of them. They were good too. Very
Yeah,
good.
it's a lot like what's that?
It would be like a funnel cake.
Yeah, that's what-
very similar.
But
you
it's
know.
a lighter bread.
Yeah, I think so,
Fry
too.
bread. It's very good. But I wanted to say congratulations to Erin and her crew down at Red Clay State Park. And they're doing some activities this weekend and starting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of next weekend. But today at 1:30, they're going to have a hike. Then follow that about 3:30, they're going to have a bow and arrow demonstration. They're going to have a blowgun demonstration, and then they're going to have a night hike. And then tomorrow at 1:30, there's a fellow going to be there that's going to be talking about the science-tology of the blue hole. How many gallons per minute pump out of there,
And-
how deep they think the blue hole is, all of that kind of
and
stuff.
all that plants around and what you can eat and can't eat out of it.
Now, 3:30, they're going to talk about edible plants. It's going to be a little walk that's going to take place, and someone's going to walk you around and tell you which plants you can
It's
and
sort of
cannot
like Yule
eat.
Gibbons. Many
Yeah.
parts of a pine tree are
They're
edible. Well,
Yeah.
you're going to learn about
And
that.
at 5:30, they're going to play Cherokee marbles.
Okay. Well, today it's Deb and I. We're going to do the show here, and we're going to do something a little different. We'll need your participation. We're going to try to come up with, and we won't be able to do it, but what are the 10 most historical and important things or
Yes.
life-changing events or things that happen in our community that
Or in our
or
region.
in our region? You know, it could be Chattanooga, you know, any McMinn County, Ray County,
County,
Polk
yeah.
County, and even into North Georgia there.
Mm-hmm.
What were some things that changed life as we know it? And
Now, I want to tell you that Ron and I talked about this topic, but we have not discussed what we picked.
No,
we each
we-
picked 10 things.
well, I may be at 23 now. Well, I think the first thing we could talk about that probably was the most important thing ever happened here, although it hasn't affected your life today, but it would have to be the Trail of Tears here. Because where we're sitting today, where you're sitting most likely, because we don't get out that far. But if you're in Bradley County, Polk County, parts of Hamilton,
All of Tennessee.
and Tennessee, well, I'm talking about at the very
end.
the people who can hear us right now, you're living where a Cherokee lived. If you live on Inman Street or Hopewell Drive or Lilac,
But the big way that the removal changed lives is the fact that had the Cherokees stayed here and we had not removed them, the government had not removed them, they would have just assimilated, and the Cherokee culture, history, language, all of that would have been totally lost.
they'd just been killed too.
Yes,
we're
yes.
talking about a time when men carried guns every day. It was, we're talking about, this was before the cowboy pictures of the 1860s. This was here, and there was a lot of people being run out because they found gold in Georgia. And so,
Greed.
this was not the United States. Where we're sitting today was not the United States. This was a Cherokee nation. So when they were moved, Bradley County was formed. In 1838, Bradley County was formed as we removed the Cherokees out of here. Without the Cherokees, we had lost the Cherokee culture, and it had been a long time before Bradley County had been formed. We don't know this could have been Hamilton County or McMinn County. We don't know.
Something,
or
it could have been Cherokee County.
So from a history standpoint and from this was a big thing that happened here.
Ron and I we gathered with a person, I believe his name was David Simmons, and he's been a researcher all of his life about the Cherokee history, and he showed us documents that said something that I had never read or never had been told, and I'm hoping that he'll write a book soon about this. But he was saying that there were places in Calhoun or Charleston, I believe it was Calhoun, where the U.S. government had a stockpile of artillery that they expected a big rebellion, kind of like they had with the Seminole and the Creek when they got ready to remove this last bunch of Cherokees that had held out so long. But that really didn't happen. The Cherokees, I think, kind of just...
John Ross helped comment some, didn't he? Did he agree that we need to leave finally?
Yeah, finally. And
they
some
didn't
of
want
it,
to leave.
yeah, some people accepted it because they knew that they just couldn't get along here, and they went on. But the guy was going over this list of artillery, and it was like for a whole war. They had field cannons here that they were prepared to use. And thank goodness they didn't use those or didn't have to use those against
Part of the story you have not heard.
Yeah, right here first.
Yeah.
But I think, yes, and one thing that did too, a lot of times when there's changes, it brings new people to an area. And so when those Cherokees were moved out, we got a lot of the old families from up in the north, from other states came
North
in
Carolina,
here.
like my family came
North
out
Carolina,
of North Carolina
Virginia, Kentucky. People came into here that were old established families and came in and purchased really big farms and stuff. But you also got a lot of immigrants, which changed our culture and made our culture, just like all the Scotch-Irish came in. And that's a totally different, they did the wash instead of the wash. And
I still do the wash.
he still does the wash. But I agree with you, Ron. That's probably
Deb leaves me a note every morning, do the wash. Yeah.
Do the wash.
I think that the next thing that ties together a lot of everything that happened after that was the railroad coming through southeast Tennessee and North Georgia. And I'll tell you why. I think it's a huge thing that happened here. The city of Cleveland was built around the railroad.
Yeah.
The city of Athens,
the railroad was going to be out there where Durkee Road
Where
runs
Whirlpool
runs through the Benton
well,
Pike.
there was a big fight over that. And if you'll notice, the railroad track comes pretty straight from McMinn County down through Bradley County. And when it gets right there, it takes this big right turn and comes to where downtown Cleveland is now. And that was politics and money and basically
Power
and so.
And I own the property here, yeah.
So the downtown area may have been where Whirlpool is today, the big plant, and it was in a Cherokee's property called Deer in the Water.
Deer in the Water.
That's what it was before he got ran out. But
Well, during the Waters place, he liked the horses. He liked the ponies. And so there were racetracks out there where they had gambling on horse
gambling, no.
Yeah, they did. They bet on the ponies out there. And it
really-
was quite the big complex. It really was.
little sidebar here. I learned that from a trial years ago. Sidebar is that the reason, many people believe the reason this is called Bradley County, because Colonel Edward Bradley, I think is his name, or General Edward Bradley, I don't know what his rank was. He was a horse racing, and so was Andrew Jackson, and and apparently
There was a wee little bet.
Andrew had lost quite a bit of money to him, and instead of paying him back, he named Bradley County after Edward Bradley to pay off his horse racing debt. Now, is there 100% proof of that? No, but it sure is a good story. But there was an Edward Bradley in that.
There, yes. I think the interesting thing about the train is there was a train between the Hiwassee River and Athens prior to the time that there was a train in Bradley County.
Yes.
A long time. And so people would ride the train as far, of course, that probably what deterred it a little bit was the fact this used to be the Cherokee Nation. And then somebody started a railroad here and it went bankrupt. But anyway, people could come down to Charleston, take the ferry across, and do shopping and stuff when it became Charleston, Tennessee.
Right.
But our railway actually went through here about 1851.
Right.
They started building it, and at some point in time, the spur that goes to Dalton was built. And but if you can imagine in those days, the big steam locomotives that would have been gone.
And
going
of course
up
to Chattanooga, and of course Chattanooga became a huge hub. And why that's so important, why the railroad was so important getting here is, there's some pros and cons. The Civil War probably came to southeast Tennessee because of the railroad.
Right.
You know, we've all heard Lincoln in a telegram wrote the hold and
to having to hold the
railroad at
east
Charleston.
East of Cleveland.
East of Cleveland and Charleston is important to winning the war.
Is more important than holding Richmond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thank you for all that.
I love the way Ron quotes things. He gets about every third word.
That was a
That was a
that was a Reader Digest version I was giving. Anyway, basically it said it was important, and I don't know how much of a involvement Chattanooga would have been to the war, which was a huge turning point. Chattanooga, Chickamauga, all that, and the railroad was huge there.
Well, the railroad and the waterways was huge there because they had to get supplies and troops in quickly, and that's the way that they could do that. And that's why Cleveland was so important. You could blow up the bridge at Charleston and stop the cracker route,
right.
the food line coming into this area.
Of course, that's where the great train robbery, was heading. The general was heading to Chattanooga, and so I think it's important if you go back and look at the Civil War, is that Chattanooga almost disappeared during the Civil War. If you look at some of the old pictures they'd cut down every tree in Chattanooga. Buildings were torn down. Maybe they cleared all the land off, and that's how come they built there. I don't know, but it was a good river port. It was a great place to do. But Chattanooga was really bombarded, a lot more than Cleveland or Bradley County. And we had some.
Well, the people that were here were just gathering to go to the big storm that was building in Chattanooga and Atlanta, and so we had whole troops, massive amounts of
Blue
troops.
Springs down at
that camped here.
Been about farms, the lower end of that. Yeah,
waiting
and
for
a lot of them went to Chickamauga, Chattanooga, eventually went to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So out here.
Yeah.
So, I think the railroad is important. And second to the railroad is that the copper company. Okay. One of the big things that that it started hauling copper out of here. And, copper was brought down from Copper Hill, and we had a rolling mill here, which processed the copper. Then it was shipped out on the railroads here. So, there's our three things now: railroad, Civil War, and the Cherokee.
Yeah, the trains too kind of supported the idea of small communities. Calhoun had a depot. Charleston had a depot.
Tasso
had a depot. Tucker Springs had a depot. Red Clay had a depot.
Tangy, Georgia.
Tangy, Georgia had it. Now, the railroad track that went through Polk County and went down into Georgia that way, that was about 1909.
Yes.
But the minute the railroad got there, your family built a hotel.
Sure did.
And but you're absolutely right. And it brought
It
people,
didn't turn
new
into-
people into the area.
It didn't turn into a Hyde or a Marriott
My family, right.
chain, though.
My family came into South Carolina from England. Do we have a call?
No, not
Okay.
yet, but we'll open the phones.
Okay, go ahead.
We're opening the phones now. You can call us here at 614-5553. We're talking about 10 things that maybe are the most historic things or important
And
things
Ron's
that happen in
already
Bradley County.
discussed 40 of them.
No, I've three main subjects. Hey, good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron and Deb. How's it going?
Hey, Bullet.
What's going on, buddy?
Before I get into talking about what to talk about, I like to ask Ron what he thought about Cleveland last night over at Ray County.
Cleveland has got to cut down on their penalties. They made a lot of mistakes there, and they're both McMahon and Cleveland needs to tighten up their defense.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened with Bradley in their first quarter. In the first quarter, they played the starters. Second quarter was the subs. So the first quarter, Bradley got the ball, threw a 75-yard touchdown. That was the only play they run on offense in the whole quarter. Then they kicked off to Ray, and Ray drove down the field, and then there were penalties back and forth, and it used up the entire quarter. And but I thought Bradley was the running game that Ray had was beating Bradley up the middle, and so.
As you well know, Cleveland has to play Ray County next week, and it starts for real next week.
I think Ray County's going to give them a heck. They were running the ball very well, and Bradley's got a good defensive line. You know, a lot of starters back, and they had trouble running them up and down. They were running up and down the middle of the there.
Yeah. They're talking about things. I don't know if it's about in what you're talking about, but
Okay.
I really think what happened to what I think has saved a lot of lives here in Cleveland is when they passed the helmet law and passed the seatbelt law here in Cleveland. Because it saved my life in both situations, the helmet law and the seatbelt law.
There's a lot of laws that changed, and some of them that I'll mention later on. If Deb don't look at me, I'm funny every time I mention something.
Yeah.
No, they're.
I just never know where you're going.
There is actually state laws that help people, but there's some state laws people don't like.
Right now, he's choked on an M&M. He'll be fine.
Yes.
Well, no, I had a bad motorcycle wreck in '68, and if it hadn't been for wearing a helmet, I wouldn't be here now. And I had a bad wreck in Scottsboro, Alabama, in a car, and the seatbelt saved me. So I know a lot of people don't like the seatbelt law or the helmet law, but if it saves your life, then I think it's worth it.
Yeah. Of course, I think you'll find that the insurance industries were real big about pushing that, and of course, that saved them tons of money.
Well, Ron, I appreciate you. I just wanted to find out about the next Friday night. I'm going to head towards Ray County and watch Cleveland, and it should be. I think Cleveland, when they get past the first couple of games, I think they're going to be a good team as long as they don't start injuries again this year. I think they'll be a different team this year. I hope so.
Well, like I say, Bradley, I can't tell you anything about their offense. They threw one pass and went 75 yards for a touchdown. And that's the only offensive play they ran. Then, of course, the subs come out, and the subs were just everybody was second string, and they're just none of them had great second string teams.
Well, I do appreciate you, Ron.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Come on. I was thinking about the Civil War too. Of course, that changed life in general. That with it made people of all races able to own land and be free what they wanted to do, and that really changed. That's world changing there. I just wanted to mention too that I thought that one of the biggest things that come through that changed things is the building of the Ocoee Dam here, because then again they went to New Orleans, St. Louis. That's the name of that place. They went to St. Louis to find workers because they could not come up with enough workers in this area to build the dam. And they brought in a tremendous number of immigrants. So did the Dutch settlement, by the way, up in Polk County, brought in a whole bunch of new immigrants to this area. But it brought us power, and because the power came from Ocoee, Tennessee, Parksville Lake, the Coy Dam, and came down through the area. And there was a station here in Cleveland that sends a power on to Chattanooga to the factories down there to change the factories from coal burning to electric powered factories. Therefore, we got to use the power before any of the other communities around here did. And that's why we had Hardwick Clothes that began as a wooling mill, and the chair factories and the coffin factories and all those factories like that. That's been everybody's bread and butter for 100 plus years in this area, is because we happen to be in the path of the power. And of course, TVA came in later and took over that power, but their ability to control the floods and make cheap power and make recreation totally changed our lives.
Promoted agriculture.
Promoted agriculture.
When you looked at the Congress, when they made TVA, power was 10th on the list.
Oh.
Flood control was the number one reason they built the dams. That's what they said.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think that's true, but then agricultural, and it went down through a whole long list and everything. Power's 10th. Now, today, I would think power's number one, and river navigation would be number two, and recreation's one of those unnecessary evils they had to put up with.
People are forever asking me questions about history stuff.
Are you talking about me again?
No, I wanted to talk, since we're talking about water, let's talk about the portage that was in Polk County, Tennessee, when it was still the Cherokee Nation. Up north, people would put things that they wanted to sell to the markets down on the Gulf of Mexico on big boats, and they would come down the river system thousands of miles to Hildebrand's house.
Okay, let me correct you. That's up the river.
Okay.
You don't go down the river from St. Louis. Look at the map.
I'm not in St. Louis.
I mean, in New Orleans.
I'm not in New
Where
Orleans.
were you at?
I'm going to New Orleans.
Oh, I thought you were. You said.
Y'all see what I put up with? Anyway, materials are coming from up north on the river, whichever direction that is, down to Ocoee, Tennessee.
Right.
And the Hildebrands have a big house up there. And I say have one because the house is still there from the 1830s, where Old Federal Road runs into the Ocoee River. All of the stuff would be taken off the boats and put on wagons. And it would take, they would take the material 11 miles down to Conasauga River at the McNairs, right there at the Conasauga River in Conasauga, put it back on the boats, and from there it could go all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, to the big markets.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a very important thing. And they actually talked about building a canal from Ocoee to the Hiwassee River so they wouldn't have to do the wagon stuff. Some fellow up in Polk County didn't want that to happen, and I can't remember his name right now. But he went over and had a nice little talk with little Andrew Jackson, and they would not approve the canal then, and therefore it was never built. But that was, I think, that changed how things were done. But anyway, I thought that was interesting.
Andrew Jackson's involved in a lot of change.
He had his fingers in a lot of stuff.
Yesterday was August 11th, 1790. The president and the Congress passed a bill saying that William Blount,
Was he governor of Tennessee?
he wasn't governor at that time. He was, I forgot what they called him, but he was advised to come down and offer Cherokees money for them to move out and let the white settlers come in. And this would probably be up around the Knoxville area and that part of it. And he was off. He said he'd give up to $1,000. That was for all the Cherokee land, not for each Cherokee. $1,000 for all.
Total. Well, how generous.
So that was yesterday's date. So that's your moment in history. Brought to you by Ron and Debbie Moore, Old Town Cleveland.
Well, in another way, when TVA started controlling the waterways and stuff, that allowed big corporations like Bowater that used the river and Olin that needed the water in order to do their job and to move their stuff, and the power, cheap power.
I think TVA, at one time, that they were a direct purchaser of power from TVA. Most people,
TVA was direct purchaser of power from TVA.
Bowater.
Bowater. There you go.
Bowater bought power directly from TVA. Most people, if you buy power, you buy it from Cleveland Utilities or Volunteer Electric. So,
Oh, they were cutting out the middleman.
well, it was because they were so large, and I think Olin maybe been. Now that could have changed then, but at one time TVA, have a big transformer yard right out there in the substation. Is I think what they call them is there. So that was.
And of course, those places brought high-paying jobs to this area, and it also brought a lot of people from different places like Newfoundland and other places that had been people that had been in the lumber industry and worked in factories like that were recruited to come here and start Bowaters in the late 1950s. And so then again, that makes our community have more immigrant kind of
the Ocoee
cultures in it.
The Ocoee Dam system, with Tennessee Electric Power Company, they had a big office building here, but they sold power almost all the way to Knoxville, McNeese County, Ray County, all off the Ocoee Dam. That's how much power come out of there. And I thought it was unique that they did not have easements for their pole lines. They actually bought the property.
Yeah, and you still see the deeds
and
now.
their deeds are still there. Tom Wheeler used to be Cleveland Utility. He says, what's all the, they actually have deeds to their old tower. And
Just like a few square feet.
yeah, and so thought that was interesting. But so the Ocoee Dam was big, brought a lot of people in here, and it had, of course, the recreation developed afterwards. There was no intent for recreation. That was not the ideal of Ocoee. It was a narrow gorge. And let's put a dam there. They did that in 18 months.
Yeah, and the amazing thing is how many times they get water off of that river. 4 times.
Power. Every
yeah.
drop.
Yeah, water too.
Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Bob, this is Bob Cash.
Lord,
Bob
we
Cash.
thought you done died and went to heaven.
Well, I thought he died. I don't know if he went to heaven.
Yes. Well, no, I better missed you a little bit. What are you talking about this morning?
We're talking about things that are very historic and changed the way we lived or made us what we are today. We've been talking about, of course, the Cherokee Indians here, and we've been talking about TVA and how bringing power to here sure did help
the
me.
Train.
Help my air conditioner run, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I've got to be listening to me some of that, by George. I slept a little bit late, and I fed my critters, so I'm ready to hear a little radio.
Hey, Bob, I found a picture the other day, and I posted it on Facebook.
Oh, thank you so much.
Did you see it?
It was Geraldine, your mama, and Gerald Hood, and you standing there, and you must have been 6 or 7 years old.
I think I was about that old. I appreciate that. I've got it saved.
Well, good. I'm glad you saw that. And someone said, "Was that Geraldine? Did she work at Kentucky Fried Chicken over in Wildwood?" And I said, "Yes, she did. she sure did."
Years and years, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought.
Hey, my train pulls out of the station without me quite often.
Yeah, I hear you, Deb. Well, I know what I was going to tell you. Now, yesterday I came across, I had 2 annuals from Bentley High School, 1950 and 1951.
Uh-huh.
And I called my little fat buddy, Alan.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, I'm out of here. How about you all? I told him. And he said, bring them up here, I'll pay you. I said, no, that price, that is pickup, not delivery. So he sent a little boy over here to pick them up and pay me.
I thought you was going to tell me that he drove one of his Rolls Royce over there to pick it up.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, Lordy. Well, look here now. Y'all have a great day and a weekend and everything, and I'll be listening to you.
Thank you for
Okay,
calling.
Bob.
We're good. It's good to hear from
Good
you.
to hear from you.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you later.
He cracks me up.
Bob Cash, and a member of my family. I'm
That's
proud to
right. We
say.
love Bob. We love Bob.
Now, his half-brother, Joey Anslone, I'm not sure about him yet, but, you know.
Y'all were good friends for a long
Joey and I
time.
are good
Ron,
friends.
something I was thinking about last night is, in addition to this power, it brought power to downtown Cleveland long before a lot of places had power. But we were very progressive in the fact that we lived in a soupy, wet place. And they built the wonderful tunnel systems under Cleveland to get rid of all of our excess water. Of course, the excess water is why we could have the woolen mills and the chair companies and all the companies that needed lots of fresh water to run their business. Matter of fact, before Magic Chef Maytag, whatever it's being called this week, left here, they capped the Big Springs at Big Springs, and that's where all their water supply was coming from. So our factories and things have strived and lived off of our water for a long time. But if you,
Those tunnels under Cleveland, which everybody had all kinds of wild theories, were basically a storm drain. But folks, you just don't know how wet we would be and how many floods we would have had without that foresight of our city leaders to do that, or maybe county leaders at that
I would
time.
really like for our leaders to go down there at the corner close to Bradley High School and watch it when it rains. And it gets about knee deep in about 3 minutes when it rains really hard. And we need something, they needed to have put something in there prior to the time they put all those lanes of traffic there, I'm sure. But that's one place that would probably be an example about what the rest of us would be like without
You know now they're going to go dig up the whole street.
and it's going to be my fault.
Yeah.
But anyway, all of this stuff not only creates, it creates things that we need, but it also created some really good jobs around here.
Mm-hmm.
I was wanting to go back to the TVA taking over. I always thought it was really interesting. Of course, Tennessee Power Company owned all of the dam and all of that, and TVA won in the courts and got to take it over.
Supreme Court, yeah.
But instead of firing all of those people that worked there, I think everybody basically drew out of a hat. And you either got to go work for TVA or the Cherokee National Forest. And so they allowed those people to keep their jobs, which I always thought was a really good thing.
Right. It's
Isn't that interesting?
Now let me talk about industry. You've talked about it a little bit, but here is the 3 or 4 places here that I think gave jobs and security. Bowater's coming here. That's huge.
I said to Don, what was his name? Melissa's dad.
Allie.
Don Alley. I liked Bowater being here, but it sure did stink. And he said it smelled like bacon and eggs to him,
That's
which
right.
means it put food on his table for a great long number of
Yeah,
years.
he
From
brought
the
a
time
lot
he
of-
was 18 till he
Brought a lot
retired.
of people in here. Of course, Mr. Alley came from Newfoundland.
Newfoundland. Yep.
And he had never, his story was great when he came in and talked about he had never ate a fresh peach in his life. They didn't grow fresh peaches on that rock up there. And he ate about 16 of them on the courthouse square down there, and peach juice running all over his shirt. He was 17, 18 years old, and he said he had never had anything so good in his life. And then he bought a little car and got lost for 2 weeks because you could just drive anywhere. But Bowater was huge. I mean, it additional rail traffic, which give railroad workers jobs, barge traffic, did that. Then somebody owned a farm up there, made a lot of money. I don't know whose farm was that? Was that
Henry's.
Henry's, okay. So I think
Mr. Henry was kept on, too, after they bought his farm, which had been an Indian village. And lots of artifacts were dug up when the bulldozers started pushing around at Bowater's. And at that time, whoever was standing there just picked up stuff. It's all protected now. If they were to do that now and they started bulldozing and they saw artifacts or bones or anything like that, they just have to stop.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mr. Henry...
This is radio. You can't do your finger.
Mr. Henry, I understand, was kept on as a liaison for a number of years between Bowaters and the community. And I think that probably bringing Bowater and Walker and Amazon and Olin and all those people in here has improved our roads, too. I know it's increased our traffic.
But our job unemployment rate is really unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, now my other 2 or 3 in this big category is Cleveland Woolen Mills, of course. It provided factory jobs when people were farmers. And when Bradley County was a huge farming area, and Cleveland Wool Mills, which has been here
Since
well
the
over
1880s.
yeah. When it first opened, it started providing people jobs. They'd walk in from all parts of Bradley County.
Well, actually, a lot of their work was done in homes.
So, yeah, what time? And then the Dixie Foundry, you know, and then which
And why did Mr. Reimer say Dixie Foundry was here?
because it's where he lived.
That's what he said.
He interviewed with a big corporate, some big magazine, big national magazine, and he was sitting at his desk, one of those gray tank-looking desks. You know what I'm talking about? The old-time metal desk with a gray top. And he was sitting behind it, and they asked him, "How come you live in Cleveland, Tennessee?" He says, "This is where," and he bought the factory here. This is where I live. So, and of course, that Dixie Foundry, of course, became Magic Shelf, which then became Maytag, and which is now Whirlpool. And look what Whirlpool does here
as
now.
Andrew and Avery Johnson said on our shows, probably one of the first factories in the Deep South that were integrated was right here in Bradley County because Mr. Reimer wasn't going to have it.
So that tells you a lot of change there. But Whirlpool today not only has its big factory here, it also has its call center here. And I think I might have this number, 400-something.
Yeah.
400-something people work there, and they just recently said in the paper, I don't know everything, but the old factory downtown is still owned by Whirlpool, Maytag, you know that, and they're going to do something with it now.
I did not read that article, but they are doing something with it. I'm really happy to see
I don't know. I don't know what it all is, but I understand that the city and Whirlpool has a big plan for downtown and to save some of those buildings and convert them into something that the community can use, and maybe Whirlpool will use themselves. So we don't know. I don't know what all that is. But
do you realize that the Bradley County school system has bought the old American Uniform building?
What are
They're
they
going to turn
do with
it into some kind of vocational center.
Boy,
I think
great.
they'll be busing kids like from the high schools there to do vocational training.
Now, my other one is I'll have to go to Chattanooga. But this one,
Everybody jump on board. We're going to Chattanooga.
Coca-Cola bottling, the first bottler in the country or in the world was in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and wow, the jobs it created, and it turned into a pretty big company. You've heard of it, haven't you?
Big. I've heard of it.
Yes, and
I love to collect Coca-Cola stuff.
matter of fact, I found an old picture of the first building down there, and I posted it on Facebook the other day. So I thought that.
Now, our bottling company's still here.
Mm-hmm.
And it came much later than that, but it was still very successful. It was owned by Mr. Johnston. His first name started with an H, I think. But anyway, he is down on South Ocoee Street, just past the fire hall, over on the right if you're going out of town, and Connolly Electric's there.
Yes.
And it's very well preserved, along with that whole neighborhood. Mr. Connolly,
has done an
he's my
amazing
hero.
job. He has. He's all the way down to the viaduct now. He bought a house down there the other day.
There you
That
go.
shows you how.
What if you don't know, folks? What in 2008 when the economy tanked, and he had a whole crew of men that he was going to have to lay off because work had gotten slow, and instead of doing that, he started buying the little houses next to his building on South Ocoee Street.
The Woolen Mill row houses.
The old Wool Mill row houses, they're probably all about 100 years old. And one at a time, they remodeled those. And then the neighbors down the street came in and said, Mama needs to sell her house. Are you interested? And now there's probably 30 houses and a store building that he's remodeled. And it has improved the looks of that community, and it's changed the whole community. It looks beautiful
Small,
now.
young professionals have moved in some of those houses now because they're close to downtown. If they work down there, it's perfect
So
for 'em.
hats off to Mr. Conlon.
okay. Well, so the Coke Bottling Company is really important to Chattanooga and to this region, and that was a big thing, you know.
We had a lot of bottling companies here that tried to do what Coca-Cola had done.
RC?
Like Rainbow Colas, I believe, was one. If Jeff Pettit's listening, he'll probably
Coca-Cola?
tell me about the buildings. But like little local ones that people had to open it up in just little storefronts. You know what put them out of business?
Coke probably.
the bottles.
Oh, yeah.
They couldn't get people to return the bottles fast enough, so it was costing them more to sell the product than they could make. That was really a big part of the process.
And I think another big plant that comes a little later on, though, is Olin.
Absolutely.
You know, and not sliding the chair factories we had here and
The
of course,
coffin factory.
Brown Stove, Hardwick Stove, the coffin factory. We had then Burlington Woolen Mills come along, and of course, you know, we've had big changes now with M&M Mars, of course.
Yeah,
that's a
they've
more
been here
modern
for
time.
probably 35 years
So
now.
big things have happened here in history that we forget about. But I think Cleveland Woolen Mills was, at one time, they were the largest manufacturing of men's clothing in the world. That's
Not in Tennessee, the world.
And then Bowater, look at the logging industry and tree farms and things that come along from there.
How fortunate we are that we are surrounded by the Cherokee National Forest. And we got all these TVA recreation areas.
Yeah. You know, we cut down a lot of trees to make paper, and we also have a lot of trees left over because the Cherokee National Forest is here. Developed in 1920s.
Yes.
And so it's, and I'm glad we did. You know, all that Cherokee National Forest around the Ocoee up there is tremendous. Folks, you're listening to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553 if you're from out of town. Or, well, if you're out of town today, if you're from out of town, live in Cleveland, you don't have to do this. But if you're 423-614-5553, call your friends and tell them we're talking about important things that happen in Bradley County. What's your opinion? What's your 10, 3, 4? I got a call here. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Ron,
Yes.
Bob Gill.
Hey, Bob. How are you?
Baba Doodle Doo. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, nothing much. I'm just sitting here listening to you guys. Maybe you got an answer, Deb. I don't know.
I'll make one up, Bob.
Okay. You're on one can answer this. Why have you ever heard that there was never a railroad in Meigs County?
You know, I do realize that there's not a railroad in Meigs County, but I really don't know why.
Well, I just think it
A little remote.
Well, from the one thing is the size of the county. It's the fourth smallest county in the nation from a landmass. So there are railroads nearby that go through that area, and just to come that one little strip, they would have to relocate a lot of railroads, and there was no industry there either to attract it. Never has been. And
I just realized that not too long ago. I thought, you know, everywhere you go in Tennessee, there's a railroad. But everywhere that it's populated, there's a railroad. And I just think Meigs County's just never really developed. I love it. But it's pretty.
My opinion of that is
Okay.
that if there had been a railroad through there from over towards Dayton and met at, say, at Charleston or wherever, the north end of the rail line going to Knoxville, there would have maybe been some business.
That's true.
you're right. Anytime
And you
there's a
never
railroad there.
know if somebody lobbied against it, or somebody had owned a massive amount of that land and didn't want to sell it. You know, that put things to a stop too.
Yeah.
Do you know what the widest point of Meigs County is?
What?
You know what the widest point of Meigs County is?
Oh, I don't know.
10-mile community. You know why they call it 10 Mile? It's 10 miles wide. That's the widest point of Meigs County. There's your trivia fact for today.
Well, I've got a friend of mine who lives up there in 10 Mile. His name's Lonnie Hill, and he's the mayor up there.
There you go.
All right. Well, you need to call Lonnie and ask him if he knew that.
I'm sure he does.
All right, guys, I just listening.
Thank you.
What one thing do you think is the most important thing ever happened in this area?
He'd say the racetrack.
Well, that and probably in this area, I guess, would be the Hardwick Woolen Mill.
Mm-hmm.
My mother used to work there years and years ago, and when she first started working there, she made I think it was $7 a week.
Oh, my word.
Boy, that's something. Well, that was probably a lot of money then, too, though.
Well, it
was enough.
You know, I never will forget, and I can't even remember what year that was, but I know she would ride the bus from Ooltewah to Cleveland and then walk from the old bus station down there to the woolen mill, and she'd ride it back to Ooltewah in the evening, and that's how I learned about the spot, because we get to come to Cleveland on Friday when she got paid, and we'd go to the spot and eat a hamburger and a bowl of chili, and I can't even remember what year that was in.
You know, that, those are great memories to have, and we don't realize, if an employee now had to walk in the rain 20 feet into the work, they'd be complaining why we don't have awnings out there. But, there's stories of, I think Dad's father got up early and walked to
Well, he
Dixie
was
Foundry.
trying to get to, they were having to live in Cohutta because he didn't have a job, and they were living with family members, I think, long before I was born. But he would walk the railroad track all the way into Cleveland every day to try to apply for a job. He was showing up there every morning asking for a job. And finally, I think on about the fifth day, he told Mr. Baldwin, he said, "You need to give me a job because I'm getting ready to walk right back there and go to work." And Mr. Baldwin gave in and gave him a job.
But, could you imagine that now? But now, I do see some young people and even some older people walking to work, riding a bicycle to work. And it isn't because they were trying to get in shape. They're struggling, but you got to admire those people. They're trying, and God bless them.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. It's hard.
Well, I was up at I'll tell you this little tale, and then I'll get off here. But we went up to the Amish farm yesterday and got some corn, and they were bringing corn and watermelons in out of the field down there. And those little old boys that were riding that wagon drawn by two big Belgian horses, and there was about 6 of them kids on there from looked about, I don't know, probably 16 down to
little, yeah,
7 or 8, and they were all riding that wagon, and they all had on the same straw hat, and they didn't have any shoes on. And I was thinking about the children in the communities today. There's a lot of kids out there that's having a hard time and struggling, and their parents are struggling to try to keep clothing and stuff on them. But those little old kids up there out in the field working and bringing stuff into that market up there, it makes you appreciate what we've got.
On Monday mornings, everybody is working.
Yep.
Yeah, everybody's working. I like to watch them toss the watermelons.
Oh, yeah.
They're just a few feet apart, and they just toss them all the way down the line
They've
to put
got
on the
some
wagon.
good watermelons. Last time I was up there, right as you walked in the front door, they had some round ones, not huge ones, but round ones that were seedless. Oh, my gosh, those are so good.
Well, our grandbabies call them the cookie farmers because they always, the first place they go is the back of the store to see if they have any cookies that day. And so anytime we see anyone dressed like them anywhere else, they'll go, "Hey, look, there's some cookie farmers."
They had two great big rattlesnake melon, striped melon, laying on a board or on a pallet there inside the door. One of them weighed 131.
Yeah, we saw some of those.
It was $35, and they had another one there that was I think it was 127 pounds, and those things were huge.
I don't know how you'd have to have several people to help you manhandle one of those to cut it.
What was that old story that Jerry Clowers used to tell that
No, he's grinning. He's going to say something he shouldn't say.
They asked the boy if he could eat that 50-pound watermelon. He said, well, I don't know. And he said, I'd give it to you if you can eat it. He said, well, I'll be back in 10 minutes. He come back and says, where'd you go? He said, well, I had one towel. I had to eat it first, see if I could do it.
No. That's not the joke I thought he was going to tell.
All right, Bob, always good to hear from you.
Thanks, Bob. See ya. Bye-bye.
I would love to hear from Bob Gill. And
You know, one thing that changed my life is clothes you don't have to iron. Every woman out there just said, yeah.
well, see, now, no guy ever think about
Well,
that.
it's
Iron.
funny.
What is iron? We don't iron
Right.
shirts.
People don't own an iron now. The young people don't.
Okay, there's 2 county high schools built early in the 20th century, in the 1900s. Of course, Charleston High School was just a little bit before Bradley Central High School.
That's
Well, both in Bradley's like 1916. Before that, they were like small, like Hopewell School had a small high school.
They were 3-year high schools that actually had dormitories. And your grandfather went to the one down at Conasauga
Yes.
that you paid $1 a month to go, and that included your boarding and stuff. And it was kind of like a private school like Baylor or something now. And very few people went to them.
Well, yeah, they're like-
they had one at Hopewell. They had one at, I believe, at Red Hill, Flint Springs. I'm sure there were others because, you just couldn't move around at that time.
But these high schools were built and they were free. They were central.
Which
And-
was very unusual because about that time, a lot of communities were still relying on the community paying the teacher. And, and they'd have a building that was the church and the school, and everybody would come to it, and everything revolved around that. Well, then the state started getting involved, like at Black Fox. I know that it was an early school, too.
So,
Phenomenal.
now, and I'm not, and for you Cleveland fans, that has nothing to do that Bradley was better. It just happened to start in 1916, and the city schools didn't build. But the city schools did something, though, in 1925-ish. They started building schools all over the city of Cleveland. Arnold's and Tipton Hill and all that. So that was another big thing. They had large community schools instead of those Hopewell schools, which
Actually, East Side was the first high school like that.
later became
At
Allen.
Allen School.
Yes.
And matter of fact, they put up a historical marker a few weeks ago. Congratulations to those fellows that wouldn't give up until they got their historical marker up. But
Arnold.
then when Bradley High School opened in 1916, there was an agreement between the city and the county that all the high school students from the city could go to Bradley High School.
Yes.
And then they turned what became Allen School into an elementary school.
So schools changed tremendously at that time, which, of course, is a big hit to the community. And then something happened in the 50s when it comes to education, Tim, I think was a huge, huge difference is you no longer had to buy your school books. Was it Buford Ellington was the governor, I believe, maybe? They passed a state law that they would now, that school books
Would be furnished through the state.
And you didn't get a school book, you just got to use one in the school.
My theory for consolidation of the schools is that none of the
Where did this come from?
none of the school buildings had indoor plumbing. And so they realized that they were going to have to start offering that at that point in time. And so they started building new schools like the New Oak Grove School and Valley View School and
Still had steam radiators and coal burn furnaces.
and no air conditioning, but they did have indoor plumbing.
Yes. Indoor plumbing was nice. I have to admit, I was never, my grandfather had one, and I used it 1 or 2 times, and then he put his outhouse on a building on the back of the house. They didn't build your toilet inside your house. They built a little room out there, and then you had an indoor toilet, but it was out on the back porch, really.
Right, and everybody at home shaking their head yes, because all the older houses, that's how they built onto it. Most of the houses were just a 4-room square house.
Oh, yes.
And so they just built a little room on the back. Then you build a porch on the other end, and there you go. You're fancy then.
Well, I think that was huge when the school books, you used to have to buy your school books like at Cooper Bookstore in downtown. You would go, and if you had history, you had to buy your history book. Mm-hmm. And these were people like Bob Gill talking about making $7 a week, and then you had to go spend your money on.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about the woolen mills. That was a big change that came to the woolen mills too. Is in the 1940s when they developed minimum wage. And they had been having these ladies at home do piecework, and they found out that there was a lot of problems with overtime and the piecework and the, all that stuff. And so that's why they had to quit doing that, and the ladies had to start coming to work and work inside the factory. And that's a big change for a lot of people right there.
Important changes. It's
11 o'clock, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening in our community. I hope you've been making a list, because after our mid-morning break, we hope you call us here. Write down this number, 614-5553. Do not dial that right now, because we're getting ready to do our mid-morning commercials. We have to do those. They're sponsorships here, I should say. And every Saturday morning, we play a song called Gone Home. We dedicate that to all the family members and friends and people around the world that lost their life.
And we need to remember this morning Edna Hampton's family, a longtime well-known resident of this area, passed.
So this is for your family, your friends that passed away.
Matthews Pool and Spa Company, located in Cleveland, Bradley County for over 45 years. You know them. They're your new swimming pool construction and supply company in Cleveland, Tennessee, now with 4 generations of Matthews to serve you. Matthews Pool and Spa Company, for over 45 years, your swimming pool, construction and supply company, spa or hot tub installation and maintenance. Get all of your supplies for your pool or spa right now. That's the new location in the old Quinn Electric Company building behind KFC at 2724 Keith Street in Cleveland. Call Matthews now, 476-4521. You better get your order in now for your new pool construction for this spring and summer. 476-4521. Matthews Pool and Spa Company. Going to jump in. Woo!
Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall.
And you're listening to WOOPLP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Checking the cash, you got a brand new choice. Our flexible loans really making noise. Flex your money, my soul. Flex your money, my soul.
A check into cash flex loan puts you in control. Visit your nearest store for details.
Shape a flex loan to fit your needs. Make your next loan a flex loan and set yourself free. Flex your money muscle at checking the cash.
Some restrictions apply. See store for details.
Yeah.
This is Teresa Gilbert from the Village Bank Shop in Cleveland, Tennessee. Do you have a birthday, wedding, or anniversary coming up and want that perfect cake? Need some donuts to sweeten up your co-workers? Want to surprise your sweet thing with a bag of cookies? Then come on over to the Village Bake Shop. Family operated since 1961, the Village Bake Shop is your first and last stop for fresh baked goods that will feed your sweet tooth. The Village Bake Shop located at the Village Green Town Center. The phone number here is 423-476-5179. See you soon.
Say gone, they have gone home, gone, they have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as the work here was done. Gone home, they have gone home, gone, they have gone home. Gone, they have gone home. Gone, they have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as their work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. Where the old town goes. They moved it on over here in a shopping mall. Where the old town goes. Did my hometown get old, or just me? Did all my friends get old, or just me? Are they all gonna have to be told, or just me?
Welcome back to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. If you're calling from outside the area, it's 423-614-5553. Write that down on your calendar or on your kitchen wall, and you can call us anytime. Here.
There
So,
you go. I wanted to mention something, Ron, before we
ahead.
get going here. Today at 2 p.m. in Rossville, Georgia, in downtown Rossville, Georgia, at what they call the John Ross House, but it's really not the John Ross House. But it is a 200-year-old house that belonged to John Ross's grandfather, which should make it even more important. There's going to be a public presentation there about the history of that house. And there's a lot of controversy going on about that house at this moment. It has had for the last several years a very tall chain link fence around it to protect it from people, because there's not people there to protect it. And you could kind of get in by calling ahead and making an appointment. And there's a pretty good sized duck pond there that has some sort of fence around it. And the city is wanting to remodel those things. And
the fence or the building?
Well, they're wanting to take the fence down. They want to take the fence down around the pond and put up just bushes to keep people out of the pond. But anyway, that's beside the point. But anyway, if you'd like a little history lesson, come down to Rossville, Georgia today, 2 o'clock. Bring your own lawn chair.
Hey, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Is Debbie Moore still in my...
I am right here, darling. What you need?
This is Louise Prince's daughter. You know, I was talking to you down here the other day.
Yes.
I found a place in North Chattanooga that's just for records.
Yes.
Some old records down there. You might want to go down there and check them out.
Is that like the Mormons records?
I don't know. My nephew was talking about it, and he knew I was looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me it's in Northgate.
Yeah, I think that might be it. I have never been there, but I need to go, especially if people are from that religious group, which a lot of people that live in this area are, from hundreds of years ago. They gathered up all the family records and they put them on microfilm and stuff. They may have put them on something easier to look at than that now. But it's a good place to go, and if you find out the date, the times and dates that it's open, let us know.
I will.
Thank you so much, and it was nice talking to you the other day.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye. We had lots of people that stood in line the other day to talk to Ron and I, either about a show we'd had or a show they think we should have, and it was fun visiting with people, and that was someone out of the Moore family, Ron.
And we're always looking for good ideas for shows, and also, if you suggest a show, suggest the person to come in to talk with us. That's the hardest thing. We've got ideas for hundreds of shows on subjects I'd love to talk. I'd love to talk about the Cherokee Hotel, but there's not a lot of people left that
alive,
are alive or have worked there, and the few that are don't want to come and do on the radio. They said they can't do radio.
Well, a lot of them, it was their dad or their grandpa that did it.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that really changed Cleveland, and I hadn't even thought about that, Ron, was the Cherokee Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
I think maybe about in the 1920s, there was a couple of people that kept going around saying, hey, we need a hotel. And
Chamber of Commerce.
Eventually,
yeah,
the business leaders in the area and the Chamber of Commerce and
the City of Cleveland.
The City of Cleveland, everybody went, hey, this might be a good idea. And then all of a sudden, Cleveland had a world-class hotel here.
Mm-hmm.
Not by today's standards, but by the 1925
It
standards.
was very modern.
Very modern.
Air conditioned.
Air conditioned. Many of the banquet halls and things were used for very important things here in Bradley County, and I love to see it still standing, and I wonder what happened to the Indian sign that used to hang on the side.
It's destroyed. Of course, people like Colonel Corn was involved in that, and our community leaders and what forethought they had. And Colonel Corn had done a lot for our communities.
He certainly had.
Hey, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron and Debbie.
Good morning.
Good morning. This sounds like Doyle.
This is Doyle Farmer. I've been listening and enjoying your program this morning.
What you got to add to it?
Well, I just think our network of roads is tremendous. We know we have the interstate, we have the bypass around town, and Keith Street. Keith Street was a swamp at one time.
Yes.
And really, without those roads, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, we would not have gotten the businesses that we have.
Later, of course, Paul Huff is our last. You go back, you think about it, Paul Huff is the last major road we have built in Bradley County, and that's what 30 years ago now.
A little bit, 91, I think, 90.
Yes. And Ron, do you remember going across Blythe Ferry?
Yes, sir, I do.
On a school bus to play football in Green County?
We sure did. I was on that bus with you.
Yeah, that bridge across the river over there has really helped tremendous.
It has.
You've hit things that's on my list here that, without those, APD 40 was a huge project, which was part of a Lyndon Bain Johnson project.
Yes.
So,
I'll mention one more thing, then I'll get off and let some people have some higher time. We had a road superintendent at one time by the name of Joe Lauderdale.
Yes.
And he was known, I guess, as the paving road. He got a lot of us out of the dust. He paved our dirt roads.
You'll appreciate this, Doyle. I lived down right off Keith Valley Road when I was a little girl in the mid-'60s, and the pavement came, and it ended about the corner of our house.
Yes.
So we were just like, oh, maybe next year. And then the next year they came and they paved probably another half mile till they got to the Georgia line. But we thought we were in high cotton when we got our road paved.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a big deal in my community.
What year did they pave Pleasant Grove down there where you live?
Well, really, I don't remember. We just have to go back and check the records and see when Joda was the superintendent.
I don't know either.
Bearing on it.
I know when I worked around the sheriff's department some years later, after we went across that bus over there, I'd never been across the ferry bus in a school bus, so that was an event for me. But there was still dirt roads around Bradley County even in the 70s. But I don't think I've driven on a dirt road in Bradley County a long time.
I get him on dirt roads all the time.
Not here, though.
Not here, gravel roads, too.
Well, they don't get up to speed. They don't make as much dust as they used to.
Real quick, did you go over to the Jamboree last night?
I didn't go over last night. I was tied up. We had a little infant that passed away, and we had a service down at the Lee Cemetery yesterday.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
I
that.
saw that on Facebook.
I didn't get away.
Precious baby.
Almost 6 o'clock, so
Well,
over. But I've been reading about it in the paper and been keeping up with the Bears. And hopefully the Bradley and Cleveland and Walker Valley will all have a good year because they put a lot of time and effort into
Well, you know, Bradley and Cleveland, you know, of course, got Maryville on their schedule, and then they had to play each other. And Bradley's going to have to tighten up their defense. So Ray County sort of ran right up the middle on them and surprised me a little bit. And then we didn't get to see much offense because the starting quarterback played one play and threw a 75-yard touchdown first time he touched the ball, and then Ray County controlled the rest of the quarter. So it's.
Hopefully they'll do okay, but
I think they will.
That we've split our talent up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have 3 teams where we used to have 1.
But you know, Cleveland and Bradley both have huge squads, though. Really huge squads. So, well, hey, Joel, always good to hear from you.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All
right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to go back and finish on the schools real quick. Then there was, state law was finally passed that was a requirement for you to go to school. Now, I don't remember when that was.
Mandatory attendance.
Right, and because used to you could quit when you were in the 3rd grade. And, you know,
I know my dad did.
My dad quit in the 6th grade over at Templeton Hill School to help feed the family at that time.
Yeah.
And there's lots of other stories like that, but there eventually became a mandatory, and you couldn't quit the school. Then the next one was you couldn't quit school till you were 16.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I think the rule is you can quit at 16, but you can't get a driver's license. You've got to graduate high school to keep your driver. You can't get your driver's license till you're 18.
I
thought that was interesting.
Mandatory attendance also came transportation and the consolidation of schools. Transportation started being offered to the children, and I think that made a big difference in who came to school and when they came. And as things evolved, and the children didn't have to be out for long periods of time to collect, to help on the farms and stuff, they were able to go more.
And all these community schools, and some of them they built maybe too many at one time. They were smaller and smaller. Now they combined them a little bit. But they were the center in the community for meetings and different things. And, for example, when everybody had to go take the polio vaccination on the sugar cube, I remember I went to Oak Grove School.
We found an article the other day in Miss Lacey's stuff that was talking about how the PTO or the PTA, whichever one it was called then, had a lot to do with getting that set up to get all the children immunized there for polio.
I remember having my sugar cube.
I remember going there and taking it too, thinking, well, that was pretty good. What's the big fuss about?
Yeah.
But what a wonderful thing that was.
Mm-hmm.
That, you and I remember people with little braces on their legs from polio.
That's what so those changes, we talked about the high schools and then the community schools and then the state requirements and buying the books. Now, Joel started talking about it, and I want to finish that up. Roads.
Well, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. The road that changed.
Bradley County and City, we haven't built a new road since 30 years ago.
Yeah. The one road that changed life forever around here was the old Federal Road when it came in the early 1800s. Mm-hmm. The U.S. government showed up and talked to the Cherokees and said, if you let us build a road through your nation, we'll be able to come in and do trade with you. Well, instead of that, it brought the troops in and helped with the removal. But that's from 1805. And we, thankfully, around this area especially, we still have the road marked Old Federal Road. So when you're on that road, there's one that runs into Blue Springs Road. The one over close to Black Fox has been changed to something else. But a lot of times in Polk County, you can find the Old Federal Road. Right next to the Old Federal Road in Polk County, was the old Stock Road. The Federal Road got kind of close to the soupy, swampy places, so if it rained too much and the road was flooded, people started driving herds of cattle and stuff that they would drive through Polk County all the way up to Knoxville to sell. And it became a stock road and got stock stands on it.
And then you had the Copper Road.
And then the Copper Road was a big deal because they needed to get to Copper Hill because it's so much closer than the railroad in Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
And so they bought the Copper Hill. And that's basically the footpath for what we now call 64 Highway.
So,
and 411 Highway follows the Old Federal Road in a lot of places.
You said something, that the government said. So it was true back then as it is today. I'm with the government. I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
And also there was a lot of things in the Cherokees. They come in, they surveyed the Cherokees. that wasn't to help them give their evaluation to the property. It was to help to find out where they are so we could get rid of you. later on.
Right.
So,
But the roads helped too with industry. We had good roads, waterways, railroads, and that's what brought industry in.
yeah, I mean, and then the power, like I say, now, I think Joel said Key Street, which I think was a big hit for Cleveland. You know, one time Inman Street stopped at Ocoee, or right at Ocoee, or Broad Street, excuse me, Broad, and then so they brought that extension on down and hit Key Street, and then the extension went on over and hit Georgetown. You used to have to go up to Willow and go around and circle around Georgetown.
The old time.
So Key Street was huge. And now my understanding, and until someone tells me different, that Mrs. Hines, who donated the land to build parts of Key Street up through there, she owned a lot of that land along the creeks up there. She did it under one stipulation, that they would name it after her grandson, and his name is Keith Hines, and that's where we got Key Street. That's what I've been told. That may be a folklore.
That may be
But I've told it now.
You've told it.
Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Who is this?
This is Sid Business.
Oh.
Yeah,
What's going on, buddy?
I'm not business, just on the banjo. Anyway, hey, Ron. Did you ever hunt that ball field down there with the metal detector beside the lumber mill?
No, I haven't.
Man, after I got to hunting it, everybody got to hunting, but I found Doogaloo.
Oh, yeah.
You know what Doogaloo is?
I know, that's the company store. That was Script, what they call Script. That's the Conestoga Lumber Company paid you its own money, and you could only buy at the store, and they were called Doogaloo. And I've got some of them.
Yeah, and you can get them, and you could use them early, in other words. I think you could use them early and then take them out of your chest.
That's right. You just go in there and say, hey, I'm out of money, and you just charge it. When your check comes, you may only get 2 Doogaloos.
Instead of 4. Yeah.
I sold them all to my brother-in-law, and I wished I had them. You know, back when I lost my house out in Old Fort, I sold all my old coins that I found in there. But I racked up on coins with that Eagle Spectrum like you wouldn't believe. Well, it was actually a hip mount XL. It wasn't an XLT, it was a Spectrum. But you talk about, my son was arguing with me that XLT would go 13 inches on a dime, but he never did no better than me. And we dug up barber. I don't know what the start all the way around them, nickels, dimes, and I had a whole bunch of old coins, and I had to actually unload them back when I tried to hang on to my house back in Old Fort. But anyway, I live out in Cleveland now. But anyway, we used to be into that real. And I can tell you some things about. There was a farmer guy that drove the train from the old railroad bed down the Conestoga River. He drove the train that hauled the logs down there to be
right.
Whatever.
Yeah, they had their own narrow gauge railroad run up into the mountains.
Yeah, his name was Farmer.
Hey, Sid, we got to run here. We got someone here wanting to call, so we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, we'll go into some of that later.
Okay, bye-bye. All right. Hey, you can call us here at 614-5553. I know we got a guy needing to call us in here in a few minutes.
The thing about Keith Street is that they changed the route of Mouse Creek to do that.
Right,
if you look, Mouse Creek's really straight going up Keith Street.
Well, is it Mouse Creek, or is it's another creek actually?
It's part of Mouse Creek.
Yeah.
Actually, the where Andrew Taylor's Spring is one of the mouths of it.
It runs all the way down Randolph Drive back here.
I loved the other day on Facebook, folks started talking about swimming over next to Smith Drive.
Yes.
And you've taken me over there before and shown me that spring, but I think probably in years earlier it's been really big. Something I think that changed the whole fabric of all the small communities is when supermarkets and malls came into the communities because they brought in products from around the world, and but they also put a lot of the little local businesses out of business.
Gibson Discount Center was way before Walmart, and it did. You could go there and you could get groceries, you could get water hoses, you could get all kinds of different things there, and so I think that's changed. Talking about streets, I-75 was a major fact of growing this community. Of course, Cleveland didn't control that. That was a government project. Eisenhower.
I read some interesting articles the other day where someone was writing that it changed the landscape of Bradley County.
Sure.
And it's true, where they put the road flat and left the sides of the mountains.
Yes.
And and it kind of like the stuff going on at Exit 20, you lose a lot of nature when you have to build like that.
Well, yeah, progress with pain, there's progress. But it was huge, and we only had Exit 25. It actually ended there, and so for years, the interstate ended at Exit 25, and look what it did to that exit out there. That used to be farmland.
Nothing.
And there wasn't a 25th Street at one time through there, and all of a sudden this became a huge.
And then Paul Huff, the Exit 27, was a big deal now, too.
That's unbelievable. So that changed and and our industry could now not only use rail and barge traffic, they could use truck traffic, which was, I don't know if it's cheaper or not, but it was more efficient in some way.
Something that's changed too, Ron, is you can't get things repaired anymore.
Oh, no.
We can all name who repaired TVs in town. You took them to Ware's TV and Appliance, or you took them out to Bill on West Side Drive. Bill Carroll on West Side Drive. You called and somebody came to your house with that little box of tubes, and then they had a tube tester inside the store that you could bring your tube in to see if it was good or bad, and you could just go home and put it in yourself if you were smart enough. But, you could get things almost you could get a toaster repaired. You watch Andy Griffin's show in the repair shop. You'll see people taking fans and toasters and stuff in. Now when something like that stops.
Shoe repair.
Oh, shoe repair was a big deal. I remember taking your shoes and getting them, your dress shoes, and getting them resold.
Yes.
Time after time after time, because they were good leather shoes and they'd last. I'm not even sure. I think we have one shoe shop here in town now, and I haven't been there in years because I don't do that kind of thing anymore.
One other street, we talked about A5040.
Oh, I'm sorry.
A5040 was is still a big. Just think of that.
We would be.
Oh my goodness. And
sunk without that.
It is a Lyndon Bain New Deal project. It's called APD because it's Appalachian Development Project Number 40. APD. AP means Appalachian Development Project Number 40. I've actually seen signs up in West Virginia as APD 7. But most people have renamed their roads, and so. And they're long, but we're one of the few still calls it APD 4. And everybody says, why is it APD for you? AP stands for Appalachian, and it was projects all through Appalachia to provide better roads. And that road, the money ran out, but where it ends where the landfill is now, that was intended to go all the way over towards I-24 at one time. Could you think that you would bypass Chattanooga completely and be almost to the foot of the mountain?
Oh, that'd be nice.
That would save tons of time. And the Paul Huff Parkway, of course, is a road that no one said, why do we need this road?
Because it's farmland.
And, oh, my goodness, folks, you can't get there now. And then, of course, that road goes, they're talking about taking the road now over at on Georgetown, taking it all the way over to Freewheel now. Now, money.
That was an original plan. I don't know if they're going to do that now. I was just thinking, Ron, that how another way that life's changed, which is a little different than what we're talking about today, is you don't have to drive up in the yard and flash your lights anymore to buy liquor.
You don't know that now.
My mind's just going everywhere this morning.
Well, now Snort, you had to walk up to the window there, and I actually got a picture of Snort. I couldn't find it the other day. Somebody was talking about him. I go, and I didn't recognize his face. I know from his elbow back. I recognized his hand coming out that window there.
But I think one thing that I miss about how things have changed are the local merchants, like going to Dooley's and getting grape ice cream, or going somewhere, MC Hendricks, where the people who own the business are actually there working. I saw the other day on Facebook, and I'm sure a lot of other people saw it too, someone posted a jar of instant coffee that had the MC Hendrick label on it. I thought that was really interesting. And I also, a couple of days ago, posted a picture of one of those green pokes that they had, the paper bags that they had that had the little dressed up lady on it shopping with a fancy shopping cart, which put a lot of local business out of business. But we had Watson's food store here too that had several businesses, and I remember shopping down on Wildwood Avenue.
The big ones was Cook's and MC Hendricks.
Yes,
that was the big shopping stores that we had.
And congratulations to Cook's, who still own their business. And another long-term family-operated business is Stampers.
Right.
They're in 80-plus years, I think 85-plus years now.
Well, the family-owned businesses are long-term are gone.
Central Drug Store's still with us.
But now who owns it now?
Us. I mean,
they started out the Stickleys, and I don't know if
I believe it's still locally owned, though. Hardee's.
Yes.
Locally owned, a chain, or I don't know how that works.
They own the franchise.
They own the franchises here.
Yes.
Okay.
The Johnsons.
And have supported the community for a long time.
Excuse me.
Johnson. And of course, Whirlpool's still with us, although it's had several name changes and stuff.
And no local owner. That was a Reimer started that, and of course Hardwick Clothes started out with a Hardwick family, and finally, 2 or 3 years ago, has it been that long now, that it's no longer a Hardwick-owned company anymore. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying just some of the things
we're
that
still glad to have it here in the community.
We're still glad there's jobs there. And matter of fact, if you need work, they got
a sign up that says they're hiring.
They need 70 or 80 people right now, I understand. And then, of course, you can always go to Amazon, particularly coming this time of year. But if you go to Amazon, be ready to work 70 hours a week for now through Christmas, and then you might get laid off. So save you money.
See, that's what's changed too. We have to think too about how TV coming to this area changed our lives. I mean, I've remembered TV all my life, but I'm sure there's people there that.
Well, let's see, was Channel 12 the first TV station?
I believe so, in the early 50s.
Yeah, maybe 12, and then 3, then 9.
I don't know.
Maybe somebody, hey, if you know the answer, call us at 614.
We need to call Davy Carroll.
5553. And, folks, if you've got an idea of something that needs to be added to the 10 most important things ever happened in Bradley County or this region from a history standpoint, it could be a big history event. It could be industry. It could be recreational. It could be anything. But if you're something you think really changed, light bread changed my life.
I figured you were going to say hot slaw changed your life.
Light bread changed my life and probably added 100 pounds on me easily over the years. But boy, it sure was good, wasn't it?
It was. What about why did we never get a big TV station here?
Well, because the FCC controls. It's like, there are only so many licenses per area, and so and they sign each area a market. So I think at one time we were market 89, and that changes from time to time. And so that market, like Chattanooga covers down into Georgia and up over towards Alabama. And matter of fact, that protects that area. And so Atlanta TV station can't really broadcast into, that's why cable company can't carry 2 ABCs. They can't carry 2 NBCs because the exclusivity rules come along, and that sort of protected that. That's something I know a little bit about there years ago. But you have a market. So
well, look how radio changed Bradley County.
And radio is something else it requires.
I know that. Would it have been WBAC?
BAC would have been our first
one.
Station. Then
that
WCLA.
signed on from the Cherokee Hotel, I believe, if I remember correctly. And they did all live programming. And, you would tune in to hear about the weather and the news and, emergency events. Well, it's kind of like this radio station now. The majority of the time, there's no one here. It's on automatic pilot now.
It's true a lot. WCLE actually started a station, I think it was Q101, and they sold Q101 to a little radio station. Now it's US 101 out of Chattanooga. That was licensed to Cleveland, Tennessee. I think they may have changed them. We got a call here. Hey, good morning. You live in Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, missed your show. I thought I'd throw in a tidbit here. We could have all the roads and everything, but without our water and sewer system, you know, that keeps us growing. And without that, we wouldn't.
You're absolutely right. Ron, how many gallons of water a day were they sucking out of the Hiwassee River up there? Did
At
they
that
tell
one
us?
station, 6 million gallons.
A day.
A day.
That's why we can have industry here.
Yeah. Another thing, I was on Bates Pike 10 years ago or longer at a yard sale, and that gentleman told me that behind Gillens, well, he pointed across the street towards Gillens. He said that was where they was going to build Cleveland, that there was too many rocks. And he said, I can go over and show you the road bed that the train was going to build through there, but he said there was too many rocks.
Right. You know where Whirlpool is over there? That was where the new big Whirlpool plant, right through there. That would, all that area would have been
Which
the city
is
of Cleveland.
close to Gillians.
And if you look at the railroad coming from Charleston,
It's a straight
It's
shot.
a straight line through Athens, straight down through here, and then it gets, just before it gets to where it takes its hard right turn and comes through Cleveland. That was politics.
But I'm
Got it over
thinking,
here.
well, I'm thinking that you might be right, though, is that
Yes.
they figured out they got it to there and they couldn't go any farther, and they knew they were going to have to change the railroad, so they probably moved the city, too. I don't really know. Yeah, well, politics had a lot to do,
Politics
I'm
had
sure.
the biggest part of that.
But we do have an abundance of wonderful fresh water here. Happened to be, you know, where we could get really good power. And I think that you're right. It's brought industry here.
You know, our power bills are very reasonable. We all think they're high.
Ours during the summer is not reasonable. but
It
it's what
costs us
is.
a lot of money, but go to California and we'd be triple the price.
Yeah, well, California dictates their own. They're another world, you know.
That's right. They're in their own
You
world.
can't get your car tags for $27 up there in California.
Amen. Okay, I'll hang up and listen.
Thanks for listening.
Good input. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. That's true. Water, good water, and then abundance of water too.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Cleveland has so many springs and capability for water. Cleveland Utilities is very, very fortunate to have that type of activity here. And
Well, you go to a lot. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to be so loud. You go to a lot of places and you see that they have to have the water towers to help them out with the, water and stuff. And we don't have a lot of that around here.
another thing, and he mentioned, in that same category was the REA, the Rural Electric Act, and that helped develop Volunteer Electric and all the cooperative powers across the nation. But that brought power to Meigs County, Polk County. Without that, Polk County in the 50s still didn't have power everywhere.
That's right.
Hey, good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning. This is Marilyn.
Hey, Marilyn. What's up, sister?
Oh, it's just riding around and listening to you guys talk. You were talking about the TVs, and what I thought of was back whenever you were little, I said that probably one of the best inventions for you was a remote control, because Debbie was our remote control.
Yeah.
Channel our sister.
Well, Ron always says that his dad would send him outside to turn the antenna.
Yeah. You had to have them raspers in sharp contrast.
This is true. And
that's something, Harry Thornton, that changed this area.
Well, and, when cable TV came in, of course, we didn't have to push the antenna around anymore. And then when the president came on, you could finally find something on the channel to watch.
Yeah, besides the president. There's just a lot of things that,
Well, home deliveries too. At that point in time, we're big on home deliveries now. You order something from Amazon and you're aggravated when it's not there the next day. But I don't remember it as much as maybe you do. But you could get ice at home and milk and
bunny bread,
and I can't even get somebody to find my house to deliver a newspaper. I live on paved road.
But yeah, all of that, has helped. It takes one thing to get you get something else.
That's right.
To develop, and it's all been really good. And
well, now you worked at Hardwick Clothes, didn't you?
yes,
Did they have a nice, cool, air-conditioned place?
Oh boy, I worked on the 4th floor of the old building, and we were air conditioned. They opened the windows on the east side of the building and on the west side of the building, and the wind blew through.
Yep.
But I left there right before they were in the processes of getting ready to move out to the new building whenever I quit there. And they had ladies in the paper the other day that had been there like 49 years, 49 years that
I believe her name was Martha Brown. I think I read that.
Yeah, and so that made her. But, just the difference in my age and your age, I remember when Grandma got electricity, and we lived in different places with outhouses, and there was time after TV got more general to the public. Well, there was times that we didn't have TVs, and the majority of the time we had one vehicle. And
I'm not sure we ever had a telephone when you still lived at home.
Now we had a telephone when you were a baby. We had a telephone on Red Hill Road.
Oh, okay.
Of course, there was us and probably 7 or 8 other
people on. But I remember that. I remember getting one when we moved out into the country when I was old enough to remember stuff. But I knew that we didn't have one when I was on Dowdy Road.
But I remember having one on Red Hill Road. But now some of the other places that we lived after that, I don't.
And I didn't have a cell phone for 40 years, but if I leave it home now, I have to go home and get it.
You can't stand it without it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when they first, everybody, all the kids were first getting one, and Will said, even T. Bandy has a
I wouldn't let him have one.
You wouldn't let him have one.
Well, it was the day that I was somewhere and I still had a flip phone, and there was a lady that must have been 80 years old sitting beside us in the restaurant that had an iPhone, and Will says, Mom, it's time for you to upgrade. That lady over there has an iPhone, so that's when I got my iPhone.
Yeah, Tommy still laughs at my flip phone.
Well, whatever it takes, right?
And today is Tommy and Missy's anniversary.
I know. I told Ron they'd been married 28 days, and he said 28 days, and I went, no, 28 years. That's hard to imagine. Well, happy anniversary to Tommy and Missy Bandy. All right. I'm going to get off of here.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And speaking of that, Ron got a modern phone this week. He's still trying to figure out how to turn it on.
Oh, I can turn it on. I can't turn it off.
Oh, I know something.
Well, okay, go ahead.
I got my finger on the Redback Hymnal.
Oh, Lord, yes.
Talk about changing lives. Everybody knows what the Redback Hymnal is.
Songs written by people in Cleveland, Tennessee,
and
are nationally known songs because of that Redback Hymnal.
Oh, what is Mrs.
Doubtfire? I have to think of something else.
I was trying to think of the little Mrs. Hurst. That was the piano player for years down at Pleasant Grove United Methodist Church. She was the last person to pass. I think she was nearly 100, if not 100, that had been one of the original songwriters there. And what classic songs they turned out.
Yeah.
If you love to talk about the Redback Hymnal and the Redback Hymnal singings that they have occasionally, watch the newspaper for those. But the Museum Center at Five Points has a permanent exhibit on the Redback Hymnal.
They got shows that old printing press they used to print them on, which had
amazing. That hot stuff down in the bottom of it. I would have burned myself.
It looks like a finger getting lost there all the time. Something that, here we get a call here, Deb. Hey, good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
This is Marilyn again.
Yeah, it's Marilyn again. What's up?
Redback Hymnal. Jack Clark is doing the singing this Sunday night at Westwood.
Okay, Westwood Baptist?
Yeah, out on Georgetown Road.
Yeah.
The big church out on Georgetown Road. Okay, well, thank you. Do you know what time it is?
It's probably 6 o'clock, but it was in the newspaper.
Okay. The fun thing about those is that when everybody shows up, everybody knows the songs.
Oh, yeah, they're really good.
Yeah.
We had a group come in and just sing Redback Hymnal songs one time here on the show, and it was great.
It was fun.
We had a room full of people.
Yep.
All right.
And I clapped along. I wasn't even able to sing with a big group.
And she didn't clap very good.
Bye.
Bye.
I wanted to remind everybody that the International Cowpea Festival in Charleston is coming up. Now, I have to hand it to the folks in
Are we going to
Charleston.
have them come into a show before?
Well, we've run out of dates.
Oh, no.
Because all of our dates are booked before then.
Sound like my high school career.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. You're live on
dates.
Old
Okay,
Town
I
Place.
get it.
Good morning, Ron.
Good
Hey,
morning.
darling, what's going on?
Where's my little friend at?
Morgan's not here today. You know, he started college this week, so he's probably got more homework than he's ever done in his life his first week.
I was talking about Debbie.
Oh, I'm right here.
Debbie's here.
I'm right here.
I've been listening to you and all, and hope you have a nice weekend and all. And you was talking about all this stuff we used to have and
Yeah.
we didn't have, and now then we've got it. Don't know what to do with it.
Some of it we wish we didn't have, don't? And
Pardon?
some of the stuff we don't need, though, isn't it?
No. I'll tell you what, if it's left up to me, nobody'd ever sell a TV. I'd as soon to watch two dogs out here fighting.
You know, you can go to jail for that kind of stuff.
TV, I use Whoop Radio every day.
Well, we like that you do that. We love the music we play here, and some of the shows get a little crazy, but
Yeah, I know.
and ours included, we get a little crazy every once in a while.
Yeah, I know. The little guy comes on at 3, he gets, or 3:30, he gets excited, and I have to cut him off.
Yeah, they do get carried away every now and
Joe,
then.
that was a polite way to say that. He gets excited. Joe, what's the biggest thing you think something happened in your life? What was the biggest thing that changed? You know, like new
Your life.
roads, or what changed, or getting electricity, or what changed in your life? It was a big event.
Well, since I've lived here, see, I saw all the new roads built, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Heath Street, Paul Hub, and I saw Dalton Pike built up good,
Mm-hmm.
and all. But I guess I could name some more.
What about when you was a little girl? What was the biggest thing happened when you was growing up?
Well, I don't think you want to hear that.
Okay.
Well, why not?
Well, you might, but the biggest thing that ever happened was when my uncle cut down a tree, and I'd get up on that stump and I'd sing. And I'd hear my echo, and I asked my mom, I said, somebody's mocking me. That's your echo. But I'd sing T for Texas and T for Tennessee.
All right.
And I've got the record now on that. But yeah, we made our play toys. We're not like the kids are now, have them brought in and a room full. But I had a good time. We jumped rope, played marbles, and hopscotch. You say something to the kids now about playing marbles, you ought to see the look on their face.
Played jacks, and oh man, hey, I thought you were gonna say what changed your life with boys.
What?
I thought you were gonna say that boys changed your life. You discovered boys, and your life changed forever.
You little monkey. You.
Hey Joe, thanks for calling.
Played, we had jacks. I think I still got a set of jacks.
Oh, I played jacks.
Hey, I bet you
I'd get down on the floor and play jacks, yeah.
I believe I can beat you.
Well, we'll see one of these.
All right.
Get old enough.
I want to see who can get up off the floor the fastest.
Well, that'll be her, I'm sure.
Bye-bye, darling.
I'm afraid not, baby doll.
Have a great week. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I could count. I could add and subtract to 21 when I went to school because we'd play cards. I could gamble. I could play rummy. I could play blackjack.
Let me, entertainment. We've talked about television kind of thing, but there's some other things. Of course, Lake Winnepesaukah, still today, was a huge thing for entertainment
people
here.
that come from all over America to go to Lake Winnepesaukah because it's an old-fashioned amusement park, and that boat chute was made by Mr. Dixon, designed and made by Mr. Dixon in 1925. Of course, it's been updated since then, but it's still the basic design that he came up with in the early 1920s, which I think is amazing. But some folks said that there was some a little bit of gambling going on, and he kind of built the amusement park to pay for that, to put that in and stuff, because the racetrack had been there. I don't really know that whole story, and I guess I shouldn't have mentioned it, but it's fun sometimes, the things that people tell you. And, of course, Kentucky Fried Chicken changed the way that, you could pick up a bucket of chicken and go to a picnic, and people didn't have to.
I was talking about entertainment, but that sure did entertain me.
But the chicken, yeah. I think it's hilarious that out here on Emmons Street, they had, just a little drive-through that you picked up the chicken from. And on Sunday afternoons after church, they'd have to have a police officer out there directing traffic. There was so many people coming through. But the Colonel Sanders, came up with his own way to cook the chicken, I think in a pressure cooker or some kind. And of course, his secret herbs and recipes, it's changed a little bit since then as far as I'm concerned. But, that kind of thing I think changed all of our life too. Once the first drive-through window opened for food, our life was changed.
Well, Lake Winnie, Rock City is another great.
Started out as somebody's house, and then it was a miniature golf course. Boy, if you lost your ball there, you really lost it, didn't you? But now I think it's one of the most visited tourist attractions in Tennessee. And man, oh man, how Chattanooga has changed. When I went to school there in the late 70s, we would lock ourselves in our room at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 4:30 in the afternoon because it was really rough downtown because of all the old abandoned buildings, and somebody had a vision and had a dream.
Yeah,
and they came, and my goodness, how it has, become such an area of attraction.
But all that attraction, and of course, miniature golf is credited to being started in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I think it's the Rock City or Lake Winnie golf course, and it was called Tom Thumb, I believe.
The Tom Thumb golf course.
And I've got a picture of one of them up on.
I know something that happened in Benton too, and it just popped in my brain. It had to do with the railroad tracks. The War of the Roses was held there. There was two brothers that were running for governor, came in and spoke to what was the largest crowd ever in an event in Polk County. They thought that there were maybe 4,000 people there.
Wow, that and some people would have counted that as 6,000. And of course, by accident, the flume line was damaged by a big boulder, and they had to close it down and rebuild most of it. And whitewater rafting
was born.
And look at the tourism dollars that has brought.
And I'm so glad they
area.
settled with TVA, so they're going to get to be able to do it.
It wasn't. Well, thanks to the state of Tennessee and Bill Haslam. Let's give him credit where credit's due. He come in and said the state of Tennessee's not going to let them take that away from them, and they got into the negotiations. It's still a lot of money. The problem was TVA wanted their money up front, and what happened? The state of Tennessee said we're going to guarantee the money, and so basically it's still going to be. It will add some cost to the rafters coming down the river, so that's unfortunate, but they're still going to be able to run. And the number of days that was a big negotiation, and but look at the entertainment dollar that's brought into Bradley County. And I say Bradley County because they still don't have a lot of hotels and folk. They don't have a lot of places to eat. So we're gaining that coming up I-75. Dalton gains from it, coming up 411, or Chatsworth, I should say, coming up 411, down 411. They're getting there to Etowah. So there's a lot of traffic is created by that coming down through here. And so, and of course, power everywhere. And it's amazing that power's still being made, and now they're making money off the river in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
They're still, every drop of water goes through 4 power plants. It comes down to Toccoa.
Makes the power 4 times.
Toccoa, is that the name
Toccoa.
of it? Toccoa River. And then when it changes over, there's
the Ocoee River.
It becomes Ocoee, but there's 4 hydro dams in that, and one of them has the don't have a flume, it has a pipe.
Mm-hmm.
It takes
powerhouse number 3.
Yeah, 3. And so, and of course, the Parksville Dam is the biggest and the most productive of all of them. So it's pretty amazing system. And then now they make money off the that. Of course, we had a show a couple weeks ago that they make money off the cabins up there too. You know, there are 62, 63 cabins that were allotted out in early 20s or after the 20s sometime. The Park Service allowed them to build in there. So if you want to have a boat dock, you got to pay TVA. If you want to have something on the land, you get paid by the Cherokee National Forest. So pretty interesting. So, hey, we got a few more minutes. What one thing do you think is the greatest invention or the greatest thing in history in Bradley, Polk, this region? I'd like to hear from you. You got a few more minutes. 614-5553. And we love doing this show. We've been doing it now.
9 years?
9 years. So that's pretty amazing, isn't it?
It is. It's tiresome.
And we would like to thank John Cook, Forever Music. He does all of our songs, original songs for our documentaries, and he's done 5 documentaries for us now. And and so he also wrote the theme song that we use here called Old Town Cleveland. But the name of the song, it's not called Old Town Cleveland. The song's called Old Town. He wrote about him and his brother.
We're getting goofy now.
Walking through downtown Cleveland, getting a cherry coke, going to the spot and different things of that nature. And so we thought it was a great song to use, and we've been using it. And and let me give him a plug. He also has a small recording studio. So if you're a songwriter, or if you've written a song or written a poem and you like to make it into a song, well, John Cook can convert your poem into music and then record it and then get it sung. I go help him on some of these things. So please give him a call. Give us a call here at 614-5553. We'll put you in touch with John Cook, the music man. Hey, we got a live call. Go ahead, you.
Hi, this is Carmen Davis.
Hey, Carmen, how are you?
I'm doing very well.
What's going on?
Well, I just happened to catch the end of your show just now, and 4,000 people in Polk County.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was reading that last night in the Polk County history book. This was probably in the 1890s.
Yeah, the 2 brothers
I don't remember their name.
Were running for governor. One was a Democrat, one was a Republican, and they traveled on the same train, and sometimes would give each other speeches just for the fun of it.
And so it was a big, big deal then, and the book said that it was a large event and over 4,000 people were there.
And their sisters were entertainers too, and they'd come along and sing.
They must have lined them up in the river.
Well, I think it was in downtown Benton, and I'm thinking that maybe they exaggerated the number just a little bit.
You have to realize that time the Republicans count them and time the Democrats count them, it doubled in size at least.
Okay, the greatest, maybe not invention, but greatest export from Bradley County is Twix bars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I love me a Twix bar.
That changed my life and my waist size.
They sure are good.
Man, those are good, aren't they? Well, of course, that old building out there, which was one time Burlington Mills.
It was Peerless Woolen Mill.
Peerless, and then it became Burlington, and that building sat there, and then look at the jobs that brought in, and then now they make all kind of candy out there. It's amazing what all they make.
Oh, okay.
They make the regular M&Ms. They make everything, but Twix bars was their first thing and the main thing of the plant. But they actually make M&Ms out there now, and they make the specialty M&Ms, and but they're still making Twix bars.
Oh, okay.
God, I know where I'm going right after I get done with this show. I've got to have a Twix bar now. How's Florida treating you, Carmen?
I'm sorry?
How's Florida treating you?
It's hot.
Well, see, you decided to move there now.
It's pretty.
Yes.
I have relatives here.
That's good. It don't snow a lot, does it?
No snow. David is working full time.
What's David doing?
He's working as the editor of a newspaper.
Well, great for him.
Good.
We came to Florida to retire.
He failed. He failed at
He
retirement.
failed retirement. Okay.
Yeah, really.
Well, I've retired and I haven't failed.
Well, I don't want to go back to work ever.
Me either. But hey, I'm busier than I used to be. I just don't get paid for it anymore.
Oh, okay.
You know, we do our documentaries and things like that. So I'm always doing something of that nature. But it's fun things. I can stop and take a nap anytime I want to.
Hey, I enjoy seeing your vegetables on Facebook.
Oh, I've got pretty good at this, haven't I?
Yes, you have.
I made some green tomato relish the other day, and it is unbelievable.
Wow.
It's sort of it's a little tangy and it's sweet, and I ate it with some fresh pinto beans and cornbread, and oh, I was in hog heaven.
Well, forget the pinto beans and cornbread.
You're not a Southern girl originally, so you don't understand that.
No.
But you could put it on a hot dog, or you could put it with something else. You could eat it with anything. You could just eat it out of the jar. It's pretty good.
Well, good. Good for y'all.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't grow big gardens. I just grow enough to say I grew something. I took that master gardener class, and now I know why I kill things, so I've got better. I don't know if I know how to grow things better. I just know why I kill them now.
Good to hear from you, Carmen.
Good to hear from you. Good.
Bye-bye.
Well, call us back anytime. We love to hear from you.
She hung up on us.
Well, Miss Carmen, a good friend of
we'll
ours.
see you guys next week. We're still working on next week's show, and then about the next 6 or 7 weeks has been booked.
And we got 3 or 4 people trying to give us dates on some really good subjects.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying, well, let me get my dates together. Let me find somebody to come in with me and help me. If you'd like to come on Old Town Cleveland and
you
talk
have
about
a
history,
reunion, or your church is turning
school
100
reunion,
years old.
yeah, the old church things, we love those.
We had Charlie Road Armor Call from Sequoia Museum wanting to come in and do a show. We've got him booked. We've got Ken Rush, all-time favorite Ken Rush from Ducktown Basin
When is
Museum.
the Cowpea Festival?
The Cowpea Festival is September the 9th.
Well,
also,
we
on
just need to tell Darlene next Saturday be a good time and talk about that Cowpea Festival, and we take care of next week. Well, Darlene, if you're listening.
Okay, now, Ducktown Basin Museum is coming in on September the 2nd
Wow.
and do their fall festival. They want to talk about the fall festival up there.
Oh, we love
all
that.
their new signage. If you haven't been there recently, they have done some marvelous cleaning up of the museum
Those signs
property
are unbelievable.
and have great signs, and they're going to have like a little walking tour. But I can't think of what some of the other things are, but we've got several weeks booked. And so if you've got something coming up and you want to get a date, you better get with me fast.
Well, we got Jeff Pettit coming, don't we?
Jeff Pettit
and Paul Hickman.
Paul Hickman that do Cleveland and Tennessee history
Right.
on Facebook and have some of those fabulous pictures. We're going to come in and talk history.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to have to get Paul and his dad to come on here.
Yeah, they've got some good, and if nothing else, what we do, we just try to spark your mind out there and get you to call us and help us through the show a lot of times. We want you to call and say, hey, I remember this. And then usually the people in the room can give you an answer or something. Well, Deb, every week I give this same preaching there, and I had a fine example, found an old picture in my aunt's estate, and it had it was a picture of a whole group of young kids in there. And I knew one of them was my cousin. And I kept looking. I'm going, well, gosh, is that her? Is that her? And it had no names on it. I don't know where it was.
She did a good job most of the time of putting pictures.
She did
names
real
on
good job.
pictures.
So I was surprised. So I put that on Facebook and sort of put this reminder. See, you need to get your pictures out and put names on there. Now, luckily, we know where it was now. And we've got some of the people
It was
now
North
named.
Cleveland Church of God, probably a preschool class
Yes.
or a kindergarten class. We're not sure.
And but David May Jr., I think, was in the picture.
Mm-hmm. And people named the teacher and several of the
so we know a little bit more about it, but without Facebook, we would not known. And people tend to throw those pictures away, too. You know, because we can find out who they are. So get the pictures from out from up under the bed. Get you some archival ink and archival labels. You can go up here to our friends at Joe Rogers Office Supplies. He has
that
those
moved
things.
to that building in 1974.
Wow. And you can write on those labels. That will not soak through the picture ever. That's a good thing. Keep the pictures in. Don't be careful. You leave them out in the light. Keep them dark. What you need to do: get your names written on there. Get with your grandpa, your grandma, aunts, uncles, dad, moms, anybody. Find out who's in the pictures. Interview your people. Those people. Write it down. Record it. Do something. Save their history, because we know. The minute someone dies in our community, we lost history. It'd be amazing how much history we lose. And so, in passing here, this is what we always say, Deb. Don't get tickled at me. We'll always remember Pearl Harbor.
But will we remember Aunt Pearl? See you guys here next week on Old Town Cleveland.
See y'all. Bye-bye.
Just me.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. Whoop FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
I know